Welcome to this week's episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast, where experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based in Kingston upon Thames are invited on to share their story with us. I'm your host, Amir Rochalina.
This week's episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast is brought to you by Holland, Harnham Wills, a financial planning and wealth management firm based in Kingston upon Thames. Holland, Harnham Wills specialises in retirement planning for senior professionals and successful business owners. Visit hhw-uk.com to start feeling more relaxed and confident about your financial future.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast. I'm joined today by Carly Allen. Carly is the founder of Vital Signz Dance, a dance company offering street dance and hip-hop classes here in Kingston. What's unique about Carly is how she's differentiating her business by focusing on hip-hop theatre, culminating in winning the Best Dance Award for her production of The Wizard's Tale at the International Youth Arts Festival in 2019. And be sure to listen to the end, where Carly shares with us how she's kept her dance community connected throughout this lockdown period. So whether you're interested in knowing more about dance and hip-hop theatre, or would like to know more about what it takes to run a successful independent business, then I hope you enjoy this episode of the Inside Kingston Podcast. Welcome, Carly Allen, to the Inside Kingston Podcast. Carly, I'm really excited about this conversation because, well, I must admit, I know very little about street dance and hip-hop theatre, and I found your business through Instagram, and I thought it was really interesting. So it's great to get a chance to speak with you, as I think myself and our listeners will learn a lot from your expertise in this area. But to kick off this conversation, I'd like to go back in time, if that's okay. So, Carly, where did you grow up?
I was born locally, Kingston upon Thames, but I actually grew up in West Molesey with my mum and dad and an elder sister of mine. So still very local to Kingston. I've had family that also live in Kingston and friends for sort of the last 30 plus years or so. So I've always grown up. Kingston's always been my sort of my local go-to area.
Oh, that's cool. And it's a lovely part of the world, so that's a bonus. Carly, what did you study after secondary school?
I actually went to study to be a dance teacher. So right. I took a couple of it was A-levels back then, but in psychology and English literature. Mm-hmm. But I always wanted to be a dance teacher, not a dancer. I just love teaching and learning and seeing sort of the younger generation and people learning a new skill. So I've always wanted to teach dance. I think from the age of probably 5 years old, 6 years old.
Oh wow, that's
so
awesome.
Always known what I've wanted to do. So I've been quite lucky actually. I've always sort of been headstrong with regards to that.
That's really cool. And Carly, there's a couple of things that you said there that I want to sort of pull on those threads throughout this conversation. But one is almost sort of looking at it in reverse, right? Because, of course, you do a lot of work with young folks in your profession and your dance studio. How did you come across dance? And then how did that go into becoming, well, actually, I want to become a dance teacher for a living?
So I was actually born with half a hip socket. Really? So when I was born, I was in a hospital probably for about 6 months to a year. I had 3 major operations on my hip to try and rebuild the hip socket and sort of turn my leg back to its usual way because it was back to front. Then I suppose sort of, that was in the 80s, I show my age now, that was back in the 80s. But back then the doctor had said to my mum and dad, I would either be extremely lame or I could end up in a wheelchair. But to have full use of my legs I may not sort of be able to experience the sports and activities that other children will experience in the future. I was very lucky. that I was actually able to. My nan used to do ballet, and my mum used to do ballet. Again in Surbiton, so under sort of Kingston upon Thames, and I sort of followed in my mum, my nan's footsteps. I've always loved to dance. I've always loved music, and I started ballet from a young age at 3 years old, and I did that round until sort of my early 20s. It's such a form of discipline, just movement that I really enjoyed, helped with the strength of my hips as well, sort of keeping mobile. I met new friends. So I was always sort of gone into the more, actually started into the classical side of dance. So I started off with ballet, and then I went more into the modern jazz tap theatre background. And for me personally, I was believe it or not, I was actually quite a shy child. So when it came to shows, I really did struggle with performing. I would always dance around in my room by myself, but as soon as anyone was watching, I sort of curled up and just sort of quite self-conscious actually. And that sort of became more, I actually enjoyed making up routines, choreography with my friends, and sort of when I got a little bit older, I was asked to help teach the younger ones, and that's something that I really did enjoy. So sort of from a young age, I think that's how really I sort of got into actual dance teaching. And then it wasn't until sort of the hip hop and the street dance, I was quite a late starter, maybe sort of 16, 18, where I started like going up to Pineapple, dancing with different teams, and sort of just learning the street dance and the hip hop elements and backgrounds and foundations, and actually looking into a whole new area of dance. With regards to, I spoke on earlier, with regards to my hip, I was going to get arthritis at an early age, and unfortunately I've got arthritis in both my hips now, so I still do my dancing, but obviously nothing compared to what I was doing before. But I used to really sort of struggle when I was around about 18, 19 with doing the ballet and the much sort of real sort of physical technique and the turnout and the impact on my hip, that I sort of then found a love for a completely different type of dance, and went into sort of the street dance and the hip hop elements, which is now probably is what I specialise in probably more now, and is what I've sort of been doing for the last 10 years with my dance school, and focusing on hip hop theatre. So an interesting start. Sort of followed the parents. All my sort of parents did it, and then went in that way, and then just really, if I'm honest, just absolutely fell in love with it. And I don't think I've ever looked back once or ever really wanted to do anything else.
That's amazing, Carly. Now, bringing this conversation to the present, could you tell us a little bit more about your business today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a business called Vital Signz Dance, and we are a street dance, hip hop specialist dance academy. We're based in Kingston upon Thames. So we've actually been running now for around 10. Well, it would have been our 10th anniversary, 2020, this year. We focus on community classes. So we have kids classes from as young as 3 years old, and we have adults as well. So my eldest couple of adults, I think, are early 60s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so complete. And that's the one thing I love. Whether you've danced before, if you've got a dance background, lovely. If you don't, it doesn't matter. Like I always say, like the Vital Signz Dance is the hub, it's the home of dance for everyone. So we've all been at that point where we start a new skill, whether it's football, tennis, swimming, any type of different sport. You're always going to start at the beginning. You're never going to go into something knowing it straight away.
True.
And that's the one thing that we really focus on is bringing dance to people that want to learn it, or people that have done it many years ago that think, oh, I really want to get back into it, but I want to do more of the fitness side of it and just have fun with it. So we do have a huge variety in what we offer. Our younger kids, our older teenagers, and our adults, and it really is sort of the home of dance, whether you've done it before or not. We do. Myself and my teachers, we've been. I've been teaching for around about 15 years, so our classes do cater and are adapted to the pupils within our classroom.
That's really interesting. Now, Carly, for our listeners who, like me, perhaps aren't too familiar with street dance and hip hop dance, I came across you guys initially through the International Youth Arts Festival. And I saw, in 2019, actually, and I saw that you guys put on a production of, I think it's The Wizard's Tale, right? Which is a spin-off, or it comes out of sort of the Harry Potter story.
Yes.
Now, I thought it was awesome, right? So I looked at it and I thought, I can see what's happening here. They're modernizing the story. They're mixing body movement with music and telling a story. It's just really fascinating. So again, for the benefit of our listeners, could you briefly talk us through this concept of hip-hop theatre as you see it?
Absolutely. My inspiration comes from a lady called Kate Prince, and she's the director of Sioux Nation Dance, and their home ground is based in Sadler's Wells, and Sioux Nation for years have been bringing sort of hip hop theatre they brought hip hop theatre to the main theatres and stages in London, and I've watched them for many years, and I was like, right, that's something that I really just absolutely fascinated about and really passionate about. And actually, rather than just having, every dance school is different, whether it's examinations that you do or it's more competition based. I just love the hip hop theatre element, because I find that you can really bring out the characters and people's individuality. So 3 years ago, we actually entered, it was a Sioux Nation digital competition, and it was with regards to sort of doing like a 5-minute video of a hip hop theatre, bringing something into hip hop theatre, but using a tale. So say, for example, we actually used Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Mm-hmm. So I think it was around about 2016 or 2017, we actually did a whole production called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And we did a more of a modern Oompa Loompas, and we just did a more modern take on the characters. We had a narration, and just bringing it more into sort of a hip-hop element. And that went down very well, a lot better than what I expected, actually. And a lot of people sort of really took to it and really enjoyed it. So it's like, wow, we've done this whole production, which my main thing is the kids absolutely loved it, really enjoyed it. Because sometimes, I know I felt when I was younger, I found it easier to maybe hide behind a character and express myself more behind a character than actually myself as a person. So when we did our hip hop theatre, we really did challenge our pupils, and they just sort of went above and beyond, which then brought us a year later into our second hip hop theatre production, which was called Neverland. And that was more focused with regards to more on the Lost Boys. Rather than sort of Peter Pan or Pan, we based it on a next generation of, I think it was Peter Pan's grandchild, and then a new generation of Lost Boys, which then followed on to last year into The Wizard's Tale. I actually, if I'm going to be honest, I've never actually seen Harry Potter before. And I said to my pupils, right, you've got a choice. We're going to do our third production. This one's going to be even bigger and better. And they all sort of chose Harry Potter. So I was like, right, I need to get myself up to date on that. And that was, it was a real challenge. But the kids of Vital Signz and my adults, we all really worked together and focused on bringing what sort of elements we're going to use. Because, I think there's maybe about 8 films, 7, 8 films. It's definitely a lot of films. And one of our main choreographers and partners, Anna Martin, she sat down with me, and she loves Harry Potter, and she's like, right, Carly, we're going to base it on this one. And it was just really interesting to do something a little bit different, because obviously you've got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, the Oompa Loompas, the characters. It's such a classic. The same as Peter Pan. So you've got two stories there that are complete original and classics, and you don't want to take too much away from the originals to make it something completely different that people aren't going to know the story of, because obviously they want to come and see it because they're intrigued to see, well, what have you done to a classic tale? So when it was something to Harry Potter, which obviously we called The Wizard's Tale, it was a real challenge bringing something to more of a modern story, and bringing a hip hop element into it. But it's lovely to see. I mean, with regards to sort of working on the set, we've worked, Ian at the ACT Theatre has been brilliant. So it was a real challenge to sort of work on the set, work with the theatre company, the props, the changes, and doing the choreography and the narration in between. And I would probably say maybe Peter Pan and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is something that I'd probably say more people have seen. Not everyone's seen Harry Potter, so it was sort of really interesting. It was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard work, trying to sort of put a story together that is based on Harry Potter, but not trying to copy it like for like. So that's what I love, and I'm hoping we're going to do a Marvel one next year. But I think we'll just wait until 2020 is over and see what happens.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, but with regards to your production of The Wizard's Tale, it obviously did pay dividends, because it culminated in you guys winning the Best Dance Award at the festival. So well done on that.
Thank you.
Carly, as you've been sort of talking through working with your dancers, your pupils, your choreographers, it strikes me that especially for young people, and especially today, dance has the opportunity to create sort of a community where sort of people can sort of get out of their own way and find something that they can dedicate time to, be disciplined towards. And moreover, probably especially in this time of lockdown where, young people's education are being disrupted and everything else. Am I right in saying that? And could you speak about that in through your experience?
Absolutely. When I was a youngster doing dance, even I've met so many friends, some of my best friends to date that I've been so lucky to share so many memories with. I was extremely shy, and if it came to sort of learning dance in a studio on a stage, I'd always want to go to the back. And the thing that we focus on in Vital Signz, which I'd say is the most important, is that we have people that want to learn dance, that want to learn a skill. And the thing that I love is we have so many kids of different ages, lots of boys as well, which is fantastic, because sometimes people think, oh, dance is just for girls, and that is absolutely not the case at all. And it's lovely to have so many kids with different backgrounds, different abilities, different ages, all sharing a passion or a common ground or a like for dance. So we really focus on that. So within our classes, obviously we focus on the dance and the choreography, the foundations, the technique, but what sort of makes us something that we really focus on within the company is bringing the best out of our pupils, bringing out their confidence, because we do have a lot of, adults and children, a lot of our pupils that are quite shy, and to express themselves and to listen to music. Music, I listen to music all the time. I find that sort of my go-to, my getaway. And then sometimes you just end up moving, you just end up dancing. And it's having that, which all the children seem to do. They love the music and they love to dance. That's why they're here, that they're here to learn that. But it's how you can use that to your advantage and bring out the dance, so it just sort of releases you, and just so you can explore, be creative. And it's so nice to see our pupils. We do focus a lot on freestyle dance, so I don't want to say, you've got to learn to freestyle. We just call it, with regards to, basically, we learn freestyle, but freestyle is about everyone's own individuality. So when you come to learn a different sport, and again, something that we really focus on at Vital Signz is really just helping youngsters with communication skills, confidence. You're in a whole different environment, so you're not with your school friends or somewhere where you have to go, that you have to be with. You're with people that you share a common ground with, or you share a passion with. And we really encourage, like, our pupils talking to one another and, creating some of their own choreography, showcasing their freestyle, and just to build that platform so that they can be confident. Because sometimes if you're doing something that you may not be doing in school or college, you may not want to share that with someone else because you're not sure, sort of, do I do that? Am I going to worry about what they think of me? Whereas at Vital Signz, we really sort of have a platform for that. We want all our pupils to be individuals and to be proud of the individual that you are, to build on that confidence, but also to work in a team player. So it's lovely, sort of, with our Saturday classes and my teams. Sometimes I'll be like, right, we're going to freestyle. I hear the moans and the groans, but when you actually sort of see them dance and you see them be themselves, that is what I get, I think, more from teaching than what I did myself when I used to perform.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so we do focus a lot on that.
Carly, how has this lockdown period we've been living through affected your business?
If I'm honest, it has affected the business huge amounts, which I'm sure it has for anyone that is running their own business. We were very lucky. We were able to take our classes online, and we literally did that. I think our last class maybe the 17th of March in a studio. Mm-hmm. So we managed to get online sort of straight away, which is great. I was extremely lucky because I had a lot of our pupils join us and support us online, just to try and keep some sort of normality and discipline and timetable for myself as well as my pupils. It was lovely to dance online and to see my pupils, my children, my adults. Was amazing, but it wasn't the same. Some people, because I use Zoom online, because with regards to teaching, I like to see as many of my pupils as possible, rather than just sort of follow my lead. I'd sort of like to see how everyone's doing. Mm-hmm. And I think we did up until August online, and then we did a couple of workshops online, so the kids managed to have a break for summer holidays. But I think if I say this on behalf of myself, I'm probably saying it for a lot of people, it's extremely tough not to be in a studio and to see your dancers and to connect with them and to talk to them. And just to sort of see them grow in themselves, and sometimes have that one-to-one feedback. Yes, with regards to online classes, it was lovely to see everyone, and we still did all our choreography, we still did our freestyling, and we still managed to do make up our own choreography, and I used to give them sort of weekly tasks to do, but to keep the momentum up. And also, I think with regards to online, maybe I'd say the younger pupils got to grips with it more than the elders, because I think they do a lot more online things at school. For whereas I've never sort of really done stuff online. I don't like to sort of put my face online and out, just the sort of person I am. But it was a huge challenge to some of our pupils who don't like to be filmed and don't like to be seen, that are more more sort of conscious, and they were absolutely fantastic. So it was a challenge, and if we come into a lockdown ever again, which who knows, you never know what's going to happen, then we do have that ability to go back online. But we are back in the studio, and it's lovely to see everyone. And we did do International Youth Arts Festival for 2020 had a DigiFest, and we did sort of the life of lockdown for Vital Signz. So we've got some of our pupils, our younger pupils and our older teens, talking about their experiences of lockdown, and some dancing that they've been doing in lockdown as well. That is actually on YouTube.
Absolutely. And actually, I just thought I'd give you my 2 pence on that, because in preparation for this conversation, Carly, I actually watched that video. It was amazing.
Oh.
It was amazing. No, I'm not kidding. I urge our listeners who are listening to us at this point in the conversation, just pause and have a look at this video from Vital Signz, Carly Allen's dance company, on YouTube, for almost as a homage to the lockdown situation. Everything from each dance that your different dancers and pupils performed for that video, the way it was edited really captures the mood. There is one particular dance, which is a lady, a young girl who's dancing in front of sort of like some garages outside, and absolutely captures the volatility of lockdown that is just not normal for us humans to be put in a position like this. Also the testimonials from the dancers when they're just diarizing a little bit of what life is like for them. So good, so honest. And it really makes you feel like we're all in this together, which is what it is, right? So I applaud you guys for that. I thought it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. We wanted to, where we, in the last 3 years, we've done our hip hop productions. It's, you've got the theatre, you've got the lighting, you've got the stage, you've got the music, you've got the audience, you've got the costumes. To actually think, right, we're going to do International Youth Arts Festival, we're going to take part in a DigiFest, but we're going to strip it all back. We're going to make it raw. And I think with regards to mental health, and lockdown, it's been a huge importance to have people to keep moving, because we are all in this together, and we will come through this, but we need to do that together. And that's why I sort of really, although it's different doing the video, it was literally, there was no special effects, no lighting, no costumes, no 5, 6, 7, 8 let's go rehearsals. It was, I want you to send me this, or this is a piece that we've learned together online. I want you to go and film it somewhere. I don't care where it's filmed, as long as you've got space, whether it's your garage, your driveway, your doorstep. But it was just really interesting to actually just to strip everything back, and to see how the dancers dealt with it. And as you said earlier, their honesty with regards to that and their movement, they really, really did excel.
I think, and the honesty that comes through in the different ways that were filmed. You could see some people were filming in sort of maybe a spare room in the house. It was quite a tight, contained space, which also gives you that feeling of the tightness and being contained at home with lockdown. Others managed to film outside or in their garden. Just the whole thing, the more that was stripped out of it, from somebody who does not understand anything about dance, mind you, the more it was representative of what you guys were trying to do with that piece of art. I just thought it was great.
Oh, thank you so much. I would tell all my dancers that it's something. They've never done anything like that before. Everything's always been choreographed for them, or they've worked with a team, or they've rehearsed with friends, and that was the first ever. And I do applaud everyone, the editor and everyone that we put it together, from the outside, because that was literally a mobile phone, and they just did what they love doing, and that is dance.
Absolutely. Carly, what are some of the key business lessons you've learned throughout your life?
Oh, key business lessons, right. Try and get my business. Actually, no, I'm not going to get my business head on. I'm just going to be honest. Always honesty. I think with myself, what you see is basically what you get. I try and be as honest as possible with regards to my dancing, because that's what I've always done. I always keep to my word. And I'm not really someone that sells myself. If anything, I'd probably just talk about the school and what we've done and things that we're going to work on. Always keep up-to-date accounts. Always do that. Unless you're like me, you leave it right to the last minute and it's a nightmare. Also, I just engage with people. I listen to what people say. Like, dance isn't for everyone. And maybe Vital Signz, maybe that isn't for everyone. Some people may come, it may not be for them. It may be something, they may be looking for different dance or something else. And I always support companies, local and afar, because I think as teachers, you teach something and you run a business as to how you've been brought up, or whichever dance school you used to go. You teach what you learn. And I also think it's important to focus on things that I may not have learned when I was younger, but that I've learned, say, over the last 10 years that I teach to my pupils. So I always say engagement, honesty, and always be you.
That makes a lot of sense. I definitely second that. When you look back at your career journey to date, what are you most proud of?
Oh, do you know what? No one's actually ever asked me that question. If I have to say what I'm most proud of, I would say is to have Vital Signz running 10 years, to see pupils go on and do dance at university and do dance at a higher education. I think that is to see people actually do something that they love and have the confidence to develop and grow and take that further. And just to meet so many people. I still see some of my pupils now that are in their 20s in the local area. Oh, hi, Carly, how are you? And just I think to see how many people I've taught over the last 50 years, and just been so lucky to meet different people, and you're always learning. You meet so many different people and you teach so many different people. You always learn from that.
Absolutely. Carly, what next for you and your business? Are there any projects in the pipeline that you can tell us about?
Yes. So we've been back in the studio for a couple of weeks, and with regards to there's not gonna be sort of our theatre performances, our standard Christmas exams and Christmas performances. So we're actually sort of working on a project, sort of coming on from lockdown really, but we're going to be putting together like some visuals and a video of what we've been getting up to from sort of September to December for the last term. Mm-hmm. So taking on from our lockdown of where it was quite secluded, we do now have a bit more space. So we're just sort of working on some visuals, which will obviously be filmed outside rather than indoors, because we can only have a certain amount of people and spacing. And we are actually doing that in Kingston. So if you see any dancers thinking, oh, what are they doing? It's going to be Vital Signz. We're sort of trying to pick a song at the moment that's sort of really relevant to us all. And I'll have different groups sort of performing that throughout Kingston that will be filmed, and that will sort of turn into like a mini video that we'll sort of be looking to launch in November.
Exciting times ahead.
Yes.
Good. As we start to wrap up, I'd like to ask you a few quick fire questions that our listeners are always interested in. Yeah. So, Carly, what do you do to relax outside of the office?
Yoga and reading.
Oh, cool. And are there any books that you've recently read that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Depending how old you are, I love Martina Cole. Anything that's a murder mystery thriller. I love my crimes and thrillers.
Very cool. And are there any movies or TV shows that you've recently watched that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Oh, very strange. I love prison documentaries. So I watched Wentworth Prison, Australian female drama prison. Love my EastEnders, love my Coronation Street. And yeah, I'm just trying to catch up on. I haven't been watching as many things on Netflix. My choreography head's been going. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of got to give Netflix a go and catch up on some documentaries that people have been sending over to me.
Cool. Finally, where can people go to find out more about you and your business?
We are on Facebook. So the website is still live. It's Vital Signz. It's with a Signz because we just like to be a little bit different. So we have a website that has it's just a basic with sort of just all my contact details and classes. It is in the process of being revamped. And we also have a Facebook page as well, Vital Signz Dance, which has got my number and an email as well. So I'm quite sort of not a one-woman band, but I don't mind anyone sort of ringing sometimes I like to sort of speak to people because I sort of like to gauge what people are looking for and just have a chat and see what background my adults or the children sort of come from.
Absolutely. And for the benefit of our listeners, I'll make sure that I add these resources to the show notes.
Oh.
Carly, thank you for joining us here on the Inside Kingston podcast. It's been a pleasure getting to know your story.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me.
That wraps up another episode of the Inside Kingston podcast. Make sure to check out our guests' website, pay them a visit, and help spread the word about what they're doing. If you have any questions or know someone who should be a guest on the show, please feel free to get in touch. I would also love it if you could go to iTunes and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We work hard to bring on some great guests, and getting a review from you is one way to help the podcast rate well on iTunes so that others can find and enjoy the show too. Thanks for listening.